Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. This episode we have Netflix 365th film from 2020. It's the South Korean neo-noir crime called Night in Paradise. This is directed by Park Hoon-jung and stars Uhm Tae-goo, Jeon, Yeo-been and Seung-won. I'm Jesse, I'm your host. Thank you for joining me, as always, for this Netflix original film podcast. As always, if you haven't seen this film and you're interested in checking it out, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on, because I will spoil this film as we go. But we do start this show with the Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what this film is all about. So this one's about a gangster who rejects an offer to join the other side, or the crime lords on the other side. His family is killed, so he goes into exile, but he is still a loose end, so violence ensures. That's a bit of a random one for me. I struggled with this one, but that's okay. Hopefully that gives you the gist of what this film is all about. So, international film, often very hard to find anything out about how this one ended up on Netflix. So, all I could see was that this did premiere at the 77th Venice International Film Festival on the 3rd of September 2020. That's why we have a 2020 release date, even though this didn't hit Netflix until 2021. At Venice, this was screened in the out of competition category, and then we head to the middle of October 2020, so about a month after Venice, where it was reported that Next Entertainment World, who held the rights for this film, would skip the theatrical release and sell the film to Netflix because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We then go to the middle of February 2021, where it was announced that the film would be released from April the 9th. Jeju Island, which is featured in this film and is almost an escape that's sought throughout this film. In Korea, it's often referred to as paradise. That ties in with the title, Night in Paradise, and a bit of a juxtaposition, I guess, that this film is anything other than paradise, especially with the violence that we see. So as said, this did play at Venice in September of 2020, Netflix worldwide from the 9th of April 2021, filmed in Seoul as well as this beautiful island of Jeju-do. Award circuit, it did have 1 win and 9 nominations. The only win it had was for Popular Star Award at the Blue Dragon Awards, but it was also nominated there for Best Director, Best Actress, Best Cinematography in Lighting. It also had nominations at the Bill Film Awards for Best Actor, Supporting Actor, Best Actress, Cinematography and Music, and it also had a nomination for Best Supporting Actor at the Chunsa Film Art Awards too. What are the critics and audiences saying about this film? So on Rotten Tomatoes, this sits at 68%. That's fresh. That is on 19 critic reviews. The audience has it a little bit higher at 75%. That's on more than 100 ratings, so positive there as well. On IMDb, sits at a 6.8 out of 10, solid rating from 9,500 ratings. Letterboxd, again, very solid, 3.5 out of 5 on 18,500 ratings, and it's been logged by 24,000 people, and we have a Metacritic result for this film. On Metacritic, they use that traffic light system of green, yellow, and red. The critics, it sits at 59 out of 100. That's on 6 critic reviews. That is in that middle section on the yellow section of a traffic light, whereas the audience, it's in the green section, sits at a 6.4 out of 10 on 13 reviews. So you'd have to say fairly positive feedback for this film, but what are my early thoughts for this one? This is a very violent film. It's not like over-the-top violence, but it is violent. It's impressively put together, even if there's very little character development, I guess. And I mean, it's goons crossing each other and getting revenge. That's what this film's about. So if you enjoy that sort of film, you might enjoy this one as well. Let's talk about the characters. So the characters in this film, we've got Tae-goo. He's our main character. He's this brooding character. He's a loyal character, almost to his detriment, I think. His sister and niece, they're killed very early in this film. And even after this, he still sticks with what he knows and is still loyal, which leads to even further turmoil. He struggles to open up as a character, not only, I think, because he can't, but because he's on this escape to Russia, but because he doesn't know how to, I feel. That's what I feel from this character. When he finally does open up a little bit, the moments between him and this character, Jeon, they turn into almost like a sweet affectionate connection, not necessarily romantic, but a respectful connection, almost like a friendship. And we'll talk a little bit about Jeon. She's this character is so sick that she's terminal. Death is not too far away. And I guess this is almost seen through her cynical personality. She doesn't want to let anyone in because she knows the end is close. She's a sharpshooter with her dialogue and what she does, and she wants nothing to do with her uncle's arms dealing or with anyone in the criminal world, and she knows that Tae-goo is from that criminal world too, so she's very blunt with him to start off with. And then when he does arrive on her doorstep, you can sort of see that she's interested. She's a little bit intrigued, even though she wants nothing to do with him. And all this anger and angst towards this is because her family has been wiped out by gangsters, so you understand why she's so down and out, as well as that idea of death coming to her too. Yang is this gang boss who directs Tae-goo. He plays all innocent throughout this film when realistically, and I've said this lots of spoilers, but he's the one who put the hit out on Tae-goo's family to ensure that he didn't leave and join the opposition Doe's crew. He didn't really need to do this, to be honest, because Tae-goo, as I mentioned before, he seems super loyal. So that was an interesting sort of trait there. We've got Executive Ma. He's the new leader of the gang because Tae-goo injured the leader, was it Doe, so badly that he's taken over. I think is this humorous almost leader that takes no prisoners. He's just blunt and does what he wants to do. The only other characters, Kuto is Jae-yoon's uncle. He's this arms dealer I mentioned, and his work led to the death of her whole family. So while she lives with him, and that's how Tae-goo meets him, because Tae-goo goes to live with him because Kuto is getting paid by these people to look after him, she's resented her uncle her whole life. And the idea, I guess, is that he's packing up shop and selling everything off to retire so he can move her to America to get her the treatment for her illness that she needs. And it almost highlights the fact that he's almost trying to repent for his past sins. The other side characters, we've got Captain Park. He's this cop who's playing all the criminals for his own benefit because he wants to make sure that he's successful in his upcoming evaluations. And Jin Shung, he's one of Tae-goo's men who's used as collateral throughout this film as well, and gives Tae-goo a little bit of hope throughout. The director of this film, Park Hoon-jung, 10 directing credits, a few writing credits, TV, film, knows what he's doing with the camera. It's very clear if you watch this film and how well he's put this one together. But let's talk about some scenes. What are some scenes that stood out? What are some scenes that didn't necessarily work in this film for me? So start off with the good ones. Tae-goo at the start, in the sauna, he's getting revenge. Bloody, gory, good scene. Jae-yoon, there's a moment where she's outside using old booze bottles for shooting practice with a gun, and Tae-goo is woken and comes out to see what's going on, and she puts this gun to her head ready to shoot herself, and Tae-goo freaks out and she pulls the trigger, but there's no bullets. She's used all the bullets, and she walks off, gives him nothing, and his response is, "What a psycho woman." I don't know, just made me laugh. There's a few moments. There's this restaurant that Jae-yoon takes Tae-goo to, and this restaurant where they serve raw fish. And the first time, it sort of gives this insight, I guess, into how hesitant Tae-goo is in revealing himself to her. And the follow-up on the second visit almost allows him to explain himself a little bit about his mother and what the raw fish reminds him of. I just did, and I also like that idea, I guess, at that restaurant. He didn't want to drink with her because he explains, "I want to drive. I need to drive you home," and he doesn't want to get pulled over. And Jae-yoon's telling him, there's never any police officers, there's no breathalyzers, you'll be fine. And it's a really clever editing where there's this quick cut to him being pulled over and tested, and she's so drunk that the police control your girlfriend. That was quite funny. I like that too. There's a scene where Tae-goo and Jae-yoon, they arrive at her uncle Kuto's place to see all these goons are there sort of harassing her uncle. They take them all out. That was really well done. And I liked the coming back at various stages between these two main characters about the idea of asking people if they're okay when you clearly know they aren't, and how frustrating that can be. I thought that was well done. Tae-goo, he goes to the airport. Yeon has told him, "Don't go, something's fishy, something's off." He still goes. He realizes he's being set up, and there's this car chase that follows. It was really well done. All the goons, there's so many of these goons. That the cars are being squished between barriers, being bumped from behind. They're stuck between two cars. There's this smash, and Tae-goo takes on so many men, gets out. Well shot, really good. the final showdown between Yang and Tae-goo. I'm not going to go into detail, but that was really well done. I liked that. And I guess the final thing that I enjoyed in this is Jeon. She survives. She's getting her final revenge against everyone that's harmed her or Tae-goo, or her uncle as well, Kuto. So she takes some guns. She's got bullets. She's shooting. She's taking out Ma. And Ma's like telling, I respect you for settling a score. He's gone. Then she takes out Yang, keeps shooting his body. Just well done. Good gore, good violence, good little finish to the film as well. Things that didn't necessarily work in this one, I think there's right at the start, Tae-goo's sister, he goes to the airport to pick her up and his niece, and I think they say to him, don't get stabbed because I need you here to look after me because I'm not going to be well. Your niece needs you. And he gives his niece this iPad as an early birthday present. The idea that iPad, that present, was a bomb or it was going to explode or something like that was going to happen just was so obvious. Even though I know nothing about this film, didn't know what genre this film was, it just felt way too obvious. And then Tae-goo is at the hospital at some stage with Kuto, waiting to see if Jeon is okay. So he's sitting there with her uncle, and Tae-goo offers him this drink, and Kuto's response is like, "You think I'd share that drink with you?" That was a little bit laughable. And then he's like, "Well, I haven't drunk out of it," so he drinks it anyway. And then Kuto asks Tae-goo if he's showered this morning because he smells, and he's like, "No, I haven't." And why? And he's like, "Well, you're a filthy bastard." It just felt really, really random. And then it started raining. I'm not sure what was going on there, what they were trying to say. There's another scene where Tae-goo is in the car with Jeon, and they're arguing, they're talking about respect and age and all this sort of stuff, and he continually slams the brakes on when he gets angry. He violently threatens her. I don't know, it just didn't work. And the final scene that didn't work for me, Jeon, she's asking, like, they're in this hotel, they're escaping because Kuto's been killed, they've got nowhere safe to go, they go stay with, I think it was like some family at a hotel, and Tae-goo asks him to sleep with her, and he's like, "It's not that I don't find you attractive or anything, but I'm not the sort of guy that would just sleep with someone randomly." And she's like, "Well, I'm not saving myself because I'm going to be dead soon." I don't know, it was just awkward, a weird sort of scene. Anyway, what's this film trying to say? What are some themes, some ideas, some motifs? This film obviously deals with the idea of escape, with sacrifice, with betrayal. These are the typical themes that you see in a gangster film. That idea, trust. Who can you trust? This one plays a little bit on that idea too of enjoying life while you can, because you don't know when death's going to come. Death's coming soon. And that idea, if you know that death is coming, how do you deal with it and come to terms with it and be at peace with yourself when you know it's not too far away? Respecting your elders was played on quite a lot in this film. Respecting older people, respecting more mature people, or people older than you. And I guess that's a very big idea in Asian culture too. Vengeance. I sort of touch on this idea of revenge anyway, but it doesn't necessarily work out. But I did like, these guys, they're bad, they're violent, but that idea too of keeping your word and being true to it, that's an important thing too. Even if you're working on the periphery almost of what is right and what is wrong. Finally, the draw of America. There's a few little references that, America's that escape, that place that everyone aims to go to. Better health system, the ability to help people out for those that need it, and the American dollar being almighty almost too. So some interesting little things in this film to touch on. What did I take away from this one? I think in Australia on Netflix, this has an R18 plus rating. So restricted, 18 plus only. Obviously streaming, it's very hard to actually regulate that or make sure only people over 18 see that, unless you're logged into a kid's account or have parental lock on. Anyone can access this film. I think and I'm not, this isn't a discussion about this. I think I'm probably a little bit surprised that this had an R18 rating because yes, there's blood, yes, there's violence, but I think this is along the lines of John Wick, which has an MA rating in Australia. I'm not sure this actually deserved an R18 plus rating, but I'm interested because Netflix self-regulates its own ratings in Australia. So I'm interested to know why Netflix gave themselves an R rating for this, maybe just to keep the Australian Classification Board in tow and make them happy. But I'm intrigued. I don't think this was an R18 film. Very, very interested. Anyway, some questions, some pondering, some ideas to finish off this show. The title. Obviously, the title, I mentioned earlier that this island that we've got refuge on. This island is often, Jeju Island is referred to as paradise by Koreans. So that's the title, obviously, in this film, is the night in paradise. This goes for more than a night, so I'm not sure that actually works. But also, like, do you take it that it's just that juxtaposition, that there's so much violence that this is not paradise? Or is it a super misleading title because, like, yes, I've said this place is anything but paradise? Or is it that this is a night in paradise for the two main leads who are able to sacrifice themselves and actually care for someone? We haven't really seen them care for anyone too much in this film. Maybe that's what the film's trying to say. I'm intrigued. Females in this film, a little bit disappointing, I think, because the females in this film are all, apart from the niece, the young girl, they're all on their deathbed ready to die. Tae-goo's sister, she's going to die, so she wants someone around. She wants her brother to stop his criminal activities, to look after his niece, and obviously his love interest, she's on her deathbed too. Is that just poor writing, poor representation of the female character? A little bit interested, a little bit intrigued. Yeah, the idea that Tae-goo is being sent to Russia to escape because it's a safer option than China. Like, what's going on here? Like, to me, neither of those are good locations. Why wouldn't you pick somewhere different? I'm not sure. That's an interesting one. Finally, there's Tae-goo. He's seen drinking alcohol multiple times by himself in his room, smoking cigarettes. The moments with him and Jeon, to start with, he won't drink with her. He won't share a drink with her. Is this because obviously he's trying to keep his identity undercover and maybe he's worried that it's going to slip out who he is and ruin this? Or is this more a personality trait, a bit of a character development moment about him not trusting anyone and he doesn't want to lose control? Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure. A couple of good questions, a couple of good thoughts I've walked away with from this film. So I am ready to wrap it up. We give the films a rating out of 5 on this show. For me, it's worth a watch. I think this is worth a watch. It's an effective film that's probably just as effective as a Western mob type film. The violence, to me, it didn't seem too over the top, and it feels as if this is the sort of film that Hollywood could probably remake because of how effective it could be. It's not a simple, like, I guess it's fairly simple, but the development of, not the development, but the characteristic traits of these characters and what they do, I kind of enjoyed it. I kind of like this film. I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. Solid film from me. We're on socials. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, and we have X, formerly known as Twitter. The question for this episode that I want, and I haven't touched on this yet, but the question I wanted to ask, and we've already done spoiler alerts, but does the final scene of this film work for you? The final scene is a pretty impactful scene. We see, obviously, the precursor to this is that Jeon goes and wipes out anyone who has done her wrong, has killed her uncle or killed her new friend Tae-goo or caused harm. She wipes them all out. She goes to the beach. She stands in the water with a gun to her head, with her headphones in, listening to music as you can hear the police sirens closing in on her, and we fade to black as the gunshot goes off. Is that an effective end? Does this work? Does the conclusion of this film work, that everyone who's been involved with this is done and dusted? Or is it a bit of a weak ending? Is it an ending that sort of goes the easy way out rather than seeing Jeon face the consequences for what she's done? Or doesn't it matter because she was so close to death anyway? This is a great conclusion for her, that she feels safe with herself. She feels happy that she's achieved something. I'm intrigued. It's an interesting ending. I think it's a good way to finish this film. I enjoyed it. So other than that, I don't have anything else to say on this film. An international film. We've done a few international films lately. So next week we are back, and I'm a little bit excited that this is a film I've wanted to watch for a while. This is a comedy. I think it's a superhero comedy from 2021, which is called Thunder Force, and this one's directed by Ben Falcone and stars Melissa McCarthy, Octavia Spencer, Bobby Cannavale, Pam Clementif, Kevin Dunn, Melissa Leo, and Jason Bateman. Good cast, big cast. I remember when this one came out. Don't know much about it. I can visualize the poster in my mind, so I'm excited to watch this one and talk about it next week. Hopefully you can watch it before then. As always, thanks for hanging out, and I will see you next week.